The movie starts in Washington, D.C. Miss Dolan, a security expert in Pentagon, is making her way to take an underground subway. As she makes her way through the platform, we can see she is being watched. Then she receives a text message not to take the train but to go to the tunnel instead. As she makes her way into the tunnel, she receives another text message saying the answer lies under the crossing 1114. She stops at that crossing but finds nothing. However, a train is coming towards her. She runs and jumps towards another rail track only to find another train, killing her instantly. A few weeks later, we see Max, a young American ethical hacker who is on a trip to Bangkok to fix the security patches of a firm. He shows the owner, with the use of a belt, how he can take down a server and then regain access in case of a security breach with a secure drive. After the successful service, he decides to go to a nearby hotel. Upon arrival, he asks for a room for the night. But then he says, "Make it sweet." The receptionist tells him that there's a package in his name. He didn't order anything, but he takes the package. We see him being watched as well. Later, he goes to the room and opens the package to find a brand new phone in it. Surprised, he goes to the washroom. When he comes back, he sees a text message saying that there's no need to rush home and hotel prices are half for this weekend. Then he confirms it with the front desk and extends his stay. In the next scene, in Moscow, Russia, a man gets a text that a new phone is activated. Back in Bangkok, we see Max enjoying his happy hour alone, and he gets a text asking him to buy shares of Scissor and make money. Few hours later, we see him finding out from news that the price of shares tripled. Next day, when he is checking out of the hotel, he gets another text telling him to go to Prague. Upon arrival, he sees a taxi driver convincing him to go with him since he speaks English there. When he is in the taxi, he gets two text messages, one telling him that he's going to be rich and another one to go to Empire Hotel. The taxi driver named Yuri gives him his card, saying he's a hacker as well, and if he needs him, he will be there. Upon arrival at the hotel, he gets a new text message telling him to go to slot machine 13. He goes there and finds a man already using the machine. Another text says that after the 3 turns, the 4th turn will be jackpot. So he pays the man off by giving him 100 euros. We see him being watched on the 4th try as the text message said he wins the 100,000 euro jackpot. In the control room, we see John, the casino security manager, and a former FBI agent. They do a background check on him and they find out that he is American, has no criminal records. Then we see Max getting a text to go for blackjack on table 6. They watch him from the control room going to table 6. Max receives another text saying bet all the chips. He seems nervous and hesitant, but he follows the text. Everyone's eyes are on him, and as the cards play out, we see that he wins again. This time, everyone congratulates him. We also see that from the control room, John finds out that Max is using a phone. He sends a guard and they tell him phones are not allowed in the casino, to which Max replies, "I got a text from my mom." Then Max goes out and calls Yuri for help. Then Max decides to go back to the hotel. Not knowing of all the cameras, he goes to the corridor and comes across Camilla. They both share a connection instantly. As he walks, we see her jealous boyfriend trying to abuse her. He stops him but gets a Superman punch instead, making him unconscious. In the meantime, Camilla takes him out of his phone and scans it. Max wakes up with a smiling woman, Camilla, and she tells him that security came and took her boyfriend away. Then he tries to talk to her and finds out she's American and asks her out for a drink. She says yes. Before leaving to further his newfound career in gambling, Max enlists the aid of Yuri, a taxi driver, and a hacker who gets him a text-to-voice earpiece to wirelessly receive his anonymous and lucrative text messages. Yuri goes through his phone and says he can find out who's texting him, but his equipment is in Russia. Max pays him 100 euros for his help. He then goes in and follows the instructions from the text. Everyone is watching him. He hits the 3 million euro jackpot on a slot machine, but we see guards approaching him and he runs away. However, FBI agent Dave Grant interrupts the chase and knocks him down, then handcuffs Max to interrogate him about the phone. John shows up and we see that John knows Agent Grant and they used to work together. Grant takes Max by saying now he is the business of FBI, not casino. Then takes Max to an isolated abandoned warehouse to interrogate him further. Grant starts asking him why he bought this phone and then takes the bag off Max's face. Max says it was sent to him anonymously. Grant leaves by saying, "I believe you, sunshine." Later, John comes to Grant and tells him that his boss wants Max back since they want to know how he tricked their casino. Grant tells him that he can't help and says that a few important people received a phone like this, like the CEO of a credit union company, and after a few days he was found dead. Another one of them was a lady working at Pentagon. She received a text to buy shares and she instantly became rich. Later, they found her dead on railway tracks with a phone broken. Then they agree to work together to get answers and to find out the person behind texts. They release Max by saying they need him to find the center. Later, in Maryland, Raymond Burke, head of the National Security Agency, NSA, receives a call from Agent Grant. Apparently, they're monitoring Max. Grant tells him that the boy doesn't know anything but assures Raymond that he will find out about it. Back in Prague, we see Mueller, the owner of the casino. John visits him and tells him that FBI took Max and there is an unknown sender behind the text and there are some people who died. Mueller tells him to find out more and then John leaves. The next day, Max receives a call from Camilla asking if they can meet, and then they both meet in a bar. Max tells her what he does at work and she tells him that she is going to a photography school. Upon seeing the guard from John, Max says he needs to leave for work, but they agree on seeing each other the next day. Later, Agent Grant and John come up with a plan and they give chips of 100,000 euros to Max. They need at least 3 texts from the unknown center so they can track the sender with the help of Raymond at NSA headquarters. Max goes to the casino and turns on his phone, making a signal. He receives a text saying go to table 17 and the team starts tracking the sender. He goes to the table, he gets another text about all while they get more and more closer, finding that the center is within the USA and is in Maryland. Shockingly, the cards don't turn out in Max's favor and he loses the game as he gets the 3rd text saying try to track me again and you'll be dead. As the team gets closer to tracking, Raymond finds out something and he tells them to abort the mission immediately. Everyone is shocked, but they abort the mission. Then Raymond orders Grant to bring back the boy. We see Max getting a warning not to turn off his phone or he will be dead. In headquarters, Raymond tells Tech that messages came from Echelon's security system and he thinks it is hacked. The guards come and take Max. Raymond also asks the Tech to see for any breaches in the system. In Prague, John meets Mueller and updates him on the situation and the names of people who died, saying they were chosen randomly, which Mueller denies, saying nothing is random and to look into it more. Later, Grant talks to Raymond about the situation and Raymond tells him that he found a Navy officer that looks like Max and now that officer will take over the situation. In the evening, Max goes to see Camilla and she cooks for him the dinner. Then they talk about how her dream is to go to Paris and that life is not easy, not allowing her to travel. He says maybe they can go there together. After that, Max starts undressing her and then they passionately have meat injection game. Next morning, Camilla receives a call from John that he is coming there to take Max back. In the office, gets instructions with time and place. They send the duplicate there to pose as Max. The duplicate then stands at the signal while Grant is hiding nearby. Then the text has to cross the street. As he walks, the light changes and 2 cars collide with each other, killing the duplicate instantly. Raymond sees all this from the headquarters. Later, we see a sniper getting in the position outside Camilla's place. Max compliments Camilla by saying she looks beautiful this way. Then we see him finding an article on Echelon's security system that the only reason the system wasn't accepted in national defense was due to the fact they lost voting by 1 vote. She tells him that maybe NSA can win this time. He suspects her now since he never mentioned NSA to her. She is caught in front of Max now. She looks outside the window and she sees a sniper. She instantly pushes Max on the ground. As they crawl on the ground, we see more guards approaching them. Camilla notices the guard at the door, so she grabs a tool and she stabs one of the guards with it and gets shot. She runs towards the guard like Flash, then she gives him a headbutt and a Catwoman kick. Finally, Max grabs a sharp object and stabs the guard with it. Someone opens the door and it's John to pick up Max. He tells him that Camilla scanned his SIM while he was unconscious and she works with him. Later, we find out that Raymond sent a sniper to eliminate Max since he knows a lot by now. Then we see Grant getting a message asking him to hand over Max or he'll be dead. In the car, Max convinces John to take him to Russia to get help from Yuri. Then we see Raymond getting the news about Echelon update rejection in Moscow, Russia. Max gives the driver address and says the seat belts are not working. The driver says this is Russia. If you wear seat belts, police will suspect you. They arrive at Yuri's place and we see them being watched. Yuri is happy to see him there. John pushes him and asks him if he's an army or an agent. Yuri says, I'm just a hacker and I want to know about the sender as much as you do, and asks for 3 hours of time. Later they go for a walk and John tells Max that he used to work with Grant and they used to be good friends, but he left FBI because his way of working wasn't accepted there. Upon arrival, Yuri says, you won't like what I found. Yuri says the reason there was no breach found in Echelon's system was because there is no breach and the messages were sent by them, the system itself. They don't believe him, but then Yuri explains that the system is using cameras all around the world as its eyes and using the neural network to predict things and have its own mind. Then he shows how the system observed and predicted to vent the moves of blackjack game at casino, and he says that system is so powerful that it can monitor every single person with a phone or tablet, making the privacy cease to exist. Then Yuri points out the guards approaching them. They make their run towards the exit and they steal a van from outside. As they make their way to the main street, we see them chased by guards. John then makes a move and knocks down one of the cars by saying he learned driving in Brooklyn. Later they reached a railway track and guards and Agent Grant catches up with him. Then John reverses the car and knocks down Grant's car. John points a shotgun at Grant and asks him to tell them everything. Grant tells them that he got a text threatening his life to find Max or he will be dead, and he wants to find the center as much as they do. Max replies, I believe you, sunshine. Then they receive a text with the location details. Then they fly to that place, which turns out to be a backup server for the state of Nebraska, which is not currently being used. Max says he has worked on the security patch for that server and knows that place. Upon arrival, they meet the SWAT team to help them get access to the place. Then the SWAT team bombs the door and takes it down. The team then goes in and then they give clearance to them. When they're inside, the camera sees them and we see Max getting a text saying, authorized BOS. Grant asks Raymond about it and then gets his permission to do so to send the SWAT team away. Meanwhile, Max turns on the power supply of the server. Once the servers are on, he logs into the system but finds nothing. Then the expert from NSA checks it and finds nothing there, so they go outside. When they go outside, we see some activity on the screen. Back in NSA, the tech finds something, so he runs to inform Raymond. Meanwhile, outside, Grant orders the guard to leave, and now it makes sense to him about the link between all the victims. Grant explains that people who died earlier must have tried to stop Echelon's system. When they go inside, they find out that the Echelon system has transferred itself from NSA Maryland to Nebraska. Then they see the system upgrading itself. Max says, I will shut the system down, and he gets a warning not to try it, and the system shows credit information of thousands of people. Now it is clear that the reason the first person was killed because he was CEO of the credit firm, then the lady because she worked in security systems at Pentagon, and Max was given the phone, since he was the only one to get the access, a backup server. Grant gets a call from Raymond, so he goes out and Max takes down the power supply with his bell. Raymond tells him that the president wants Echelon to protect America, and if anyone comes between it, they will be taken down. Then Raymond contacts the guards to go back to the server. Max connects his earbuds with the system and starts talking to the system that it is going against its major purpose by destroying everyone's privacy, and it is not programmed to do so. Then we see the guards approaching them and they all start firing. Surprisingly, upon what Max said, there is a conflict in the neural network of the system, and when the upgrade is about to finish, the system shows hundreds of articles where it says how it destroys the privacy of people. There is a shift in the system, and before the upgrade installs, it disregards it and shuts down the server on its own. We see the guards overpower them and they all surrender. Then we see Raymond assuring the president that the system is down, but they will try to run it again after major fixes. John sends a text to Mueller that the problem is solved now. Later, Max is bailed from the prison and they tell him that Raymond will avoid public attention and that Camilla has paid for his bail. Then Grant asks John if he will work with FBI again, which John replies only if he gets his old office. Outside, Camilla tells him that she missed him and shows him the check of 3 million euros that Mueller has sent for him. Then he tells Camilla that they'll go to Paris and kisses her passionately. He then gets a text saying congrats and to say hi to your mom. That text recalls to the time when Max was showing his phone to Yuri and told him that the texts are from his mom, and now it is revealed that John was right about Yuri, and it turns out Yuri works for the Russian army. The general of the Russian army congratulates Yuri on his mission, but Yuri replies that soon Americans will try to use the system again. When the general leaves, he presses a button on his phone and movie ends.